Due to popular demand, here is another episode of Debunking where we test to see what is real and what is fake. Let's start with this first one sent in by Haydatar, who wants to know, is this true? Let's watch it. The key to Immortal roses. They add vodka to one and sugar to the other and time lapse for 10 days, and it says that vodka helps stop roses from wilting. If you're a subscriber to this channel, then you might remember a while ago we already tested the different types of soda to stop roses from wilting, and when we did, I left them out of water for a whole day so that they would start to wilt, and then I put them into the different sodas and they all continued to wilt. And that's because the ends had dried out, and if the ends of flowers dry out, when you put them back into water, they can't get the water that they need. You have to trim those ends off and then put them back into the liquid so that they can absorb it. If we go back and look at the 10-day time lapse in the vodka video, you can see that the one that's in sugar seems to immediately just wilt and drop down, just like the ones did in the video where we didn't trim the ends. It's kind of looks to me like they have just let it wilt and then changed the colour in post to make it look like it was dying. So I'm pretty confident that this is fake. But as to what actually does happen, if we're comparing between the two, we're going to have to set up a 10-day time lapse to see what happens. The first vase will just be plain water, so we've got a control. In the second, let's add vodka like they did, and then sugar into the next one. Now, if we're going to run this for 10 whole days, we might as well test a few other hacks. So a little bit of bleach in this one, and some citric acid in that one, and what some florists recommended in the comments on the last video, which was a little bit of bleach and a little bit of sugar together. Give them all a stir with a clean stirrer, and then add roses to each one, and let's go. These roses were all bought from the same florist on the same day, a bunch of red and a bunch of white ones. I trimmed the end off each stem on an angle just before putting them into the test solutions. I've added 2 roses to each so that we can be more certain of the results, and just in case one rose is damaged or older or something that I couldn't tell from the bunch. As you can see, not much has happened in the first week. The solutions are all mainly water, so you wouldn't expect there to be a dramatic difference early on, which totally debunks the nature community video which showed the sugar solution one immediately wilting and then dying. By day 8, the red rose in plain water seems to be drooping, but the white one looks fine. The rest of these roses all seem to be lasting really well, which is a bit annoying when you want them to die. It is cold here, but I'm going to have to pause that time lapse so I can get this video out to you, and then I'll put it back onto time lapse and put the rest of the days onto Patreon if you are interested in seeing those results. Next, John wants to know if this is possible.
Let's make some vegan honey with cat grass. Pull off the grass with its roots on. Wash for a couple of times and chop them as fine as possible. Mix the chopped grass with cooked glutinous rice. Set your rice cooker on keep warm mode for 5 hours. Squeeze out the liquid. Stir and thicken it until it reaches 105 Celsius.
Let's test this one out. Now, cat grass usually just refers to wheat that has been allowed to start to grow, so it looks a bit like grass and cats like it, hence the name. Now, if you take the little wheat berries and you put them in water and you soak them overnight, they will absorb the water and swell up. If we cut one in half, you can see that it is filled with flour, which makes sense because we grind wheat to get wheat flour. But what you can't see is that it also has an enzyme in it called amylase. And once that wheat is wet, amylase gets to work helping to break down the starch into sugars like glucose and maltose. The wheat uses that sugar to start to grow. After just a couple of days, it has tiny roots and shoots. You could use it at this stage, but we'll follow what the recipe said and let it grow for a week until it looks like grass. I imagine that all this extra greenery is going to affect the flavour. Chop that up finely to open up the wheat berries and add it to some cooked glutinous rice, and then keep it warm for 5 hours. If I chop one of these in half, you can see that that flour inside is now turned into a sweet, sticky liquid. Now, importantly, the amylase enzyme is still there. So if we take this and put it into the rice, the idea is that enzyme will now start working to break down the starches in the rice and turn them into sugars too. The ideal temperature for that enzyme to work is between 60 and 65 degrees. If we heat it above 70, then it is too hot for the enzyme and the enzyme will be broken and then it won't work anymore. Now, my slow cooker's keep warm setting is 75 degrees, so that's too hot for this enzyme. So I will put it into this cooker instead so I can set it to exactly 65. I'm going to change the method here by adding a whole heap of water into the cooker. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can get an even temperature the whole way through that rice. Most of these cookers heat from an element on the bottom, which means it can tend to get too hot or the right temperature at the bottom and then not warm enough on the top if you've got one big glug of rice that can't be stirred. When it comes to food safety, between 6 and 60 degrees is the danger zone. That's the temperature range where if you have any bacteria present, it is going to multiply rapidly. The bacteria is really happy, so we don't want that. We need to keep it above 60 but under 70 so we don't destroy the enzyme. So around 65, hopefully we can get it all to work right there at that temperature. Now, you don't have to grow wheat to try this as an experiment. You can buy amylase enzyme and add a small amount of it to your cooked glutinous rice. Let's put this one into a sous vide bag so we can precisely control the temperature that way. And then after 5 hours, I strained both of them. This is the one made using the enzyme, and this is using the cat grass. They're a completely different colour, so the cat grass is adding a lot more to this than just the enzyme. Next, we had to boil those to evaporate off all the extra water and get down to a sugary syrup. This is the enzyme one, and this is the cat grass one. Once it's cooled, it has a weird texture, like a cross between a syrup and a starch thickened sauce. So it's likely that there is still quite a bit of starch left in this one. So does this work? Yes, it does. It's a great demonstration of the use of enzymes in food production to change the qualities of the food. Interestingly, in some countries like Australia, enzymes don't even have to be listed on the ingredient list, but that's a whole nother topic. The other question with this is it honey? Well, no, it's not made by bees, so it's not honey. This is rice syrup. It's very often used in Korean cooking to add sweetness and a bit of shine to the savoury dishes. You can buy rice syrup at the shops and it does look like honey, and theirs obviously doesn't have any starch left in it. It's a lot clearer. The question is, does it taste like honey? And to find that out, I'm going to give the guys a whole range of sugary syrups and see if they can tell me which one's honey. But before we do that, if you want to use your job to have a positive impact in the world, but you're not sure where to start, today's sponsor wants to help you. 80,000 Hours is a non-profit that provides heaps of free resources like guides on how to have a high impact career and a curated job board with amazing career opportunities. And there's even a podcast where they interview different experts from around the world who are already working to try and solve some of the world's most pressing problems. I especially enjoyed the one where they interviewed Dr. Lucia Coulter, who has an organisation that's trying to prevent the damage that's done by lead exposure to children in low to middle income countries.
If you had like a little sugar sachet, if that was filled with lead dust and you sprinkled it across an area the size of an American football field, that level of lead loading would be sufficient to cause lead poisoning if a child spent time in that environment.
All of these resources are free. 80,000 Hours just wants to help you find a job that has the highest positive social impact. If you work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year for 40 years, that's 80,000 hours. Click on the link in the description or go to 80,000hours.org/H2CT to be sent a free copy of their in-depth career guide and use your hours to do more good in the world. Now back to our syrups. Tell me which ones taste like honey.
Easy. One looks like honey, but they all look like honey.
That's golden syrup. Yeah, that's not honey.
That is not honey. That is golden syrup, which tastes like my childhood. Got that kind of like not burnt, but like umber taste to it.
Is it honey?
No. Let's go to the next one. This one looks less like honey. It's kind of a bit more crystal. Well, I think that's honey. But then that one tastes exactly like honey. So maybe I don't know what honey looks like.
A bit more on the caramel side rather than light and florally, but I'm still going to say that's honey. I'd be surprised if that was anything else, because it's still got that distinct sort of honey flavour.
I don't know what that tastes like. Not honey.
That one tastes like nothing. It just tastes like sugar, not even browned sugar.
That one tastes a bit like a slightly watered down honey, but it looks more like honey to me. So now I'm not sure. You've confused me.
Now, this one I don't think is honey just from the consistency. I feel like I haven't seen honey do that before.
I don't know about that one. Ooh. That one's bad.
Yeah, that's not honey at all. Oh, that's odd.
It's okay.
It's not something I'd probably want to eat.
That one tastes like it's off. Like off milk or grass. Just dirt. That one's bad. I don't like that one at all. Tastes like sweet nothing.
It tastes like a sugared almond syrup, but it's not very nice. Maybe if you liked sugared almonds, but I don't like sugared almonds, so.
That one tastes like a nutty honey. Like if there was a collaboration between hazelnuts and honey, this would be it.
Next, Joseph sent in this one. It's called chocolate cake without sugar and without flour in just 5 minutes. They have a couple of bananas, 2 eggs, a tablespoon of cocoa powder. That looks a bit more than a tablespoon to me, but I might be wrong. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. That's not the same quantity as the cocoa powder was. And a tablespoon of vanilla sugar. I thought this recipe had no sugar in it. Vanilla sugar is sugar. And then they make a runny ganache and pour that over the top. Let's make it firstly using the quantities that they wrote on the screen for us to follow. 2 bananas, a tablespoon of cocoa powder, 1 egg, 2 eggs, a tablespoon of baking powder, that's a lot of baking powder, and a tablespoon of sugar. Now after it's baked, it is flat as you would expect. Now the texture, it's actually not too bad for a flourless cake. The taste, it's not sweet or chocolatey, and to me it has a bitter chemical aftertaste, I think, from the baking powder.
Like the initial burst is okay, but then once it's gone, it's like I've got a mouthful of washing detergent or something. Well, that's not good.
Let's use the same ingredients but change the quantities. 2 bananas, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, which is double what they said, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, which is a big decrease from what they wrote, and 1 tablespoon of sugar, which is what they wrote but is a lot more than what they showed in the video. It has a similar texture. It's still not very sweet or chocolatey. It reminds me of the taste and texture of a pancake. It's okay, but it's going to need the ganache to give it some sweetness and flavour.
It's a bit more chocolatey. Doesn't have the aftertaste. It's pretty decent. Not super sweet, but it's pretty good.
If you have a video that you want me to test out, you can send it to me on the email that is in the description below. You can watch more debunking videos here, and remember to give a thumbs up, a like, a comment, a share, all those things that help tell the algorithm that you liked this video, and it should suggest it to more people. With thanks to my amazing patrons for all of your support. You guys are wonderful. I really appreciate it. Make it a great week by being kind to others, and I'll see you on Friday.